Hello everyone. Today we will see on the different that is the last module in the sensors and transducers of module 2. Okay. So before that we will recall whatever we have seen in the previous presentation. So the topics which were discussed in the previous presentation. First we had seen on fiber optic transducers. Then there are two types of fiber optic transducers. Just pause this video and recall what we had studied in these type of all these transducers. So in that we have extrinsic and intrinsic sensor configuration. Then we had seen on digital transducers, in which we have frequency domain transducers, and that is in frequency domain transducers we have electromagnetic, optoelectrical and vibrating stream. Just recall on all these terms and just see the diagram and understand. Just pause this video and see the diagram, recall all these topics. The next what we had, this digital, what we get is in digital transducers we get a pulse as the output, so it will be in the form of zeros and ones. Next we had seen on digital encoders. In this digital encoders we will be getting the output in the form of 2 power 0 in the binary form, that is maybe in the BCD number system, or maybe in the octal number system, or maybe of that type, any of the other type number system kind. So 2 power 0, 2 power 1, 2 power 2, that way we will be getting the output. So in that we have two types, contact type and non-contact type. We mainly focus on non-contact type, that is optical type and magnetic type. Optical means all these are dependent on light. So that is how, just by reading these terms, the title you can know as what is the input and how it works, on which parameter it works mainly. Now electromagnetic means it is the magnetic and the electrical. So that we just remember by the term, remember the diagram. Then we had also seen on this digital pressure transducer. So how a pressure transducer can be used for the digital in the digital form. Next we have a topic which is known as the recent trends. In the recent trends, smart pressure transmitters. We have one topic which is smart pressure transmitters. So here pressure is measured, which in terms is converted to the resistance, change in resistance by using strain gauges, and this change in resistance can be used in the different ways. So mainly microprocessor are used as transmitters in this case, and here transmitters they sense three parameters, which is differential pressure, static pressure and temperature. So we have higher options in this. The meter body is pre-programmed in manufacturing to characterize the unit for linearity, static pressure and temperature effects, and also it computes highly repeatable and accurate pressure measurement. The accuracy is very good in this transmitters. The current also which it takes is very much less. It draws a current of around 4 to 20 milliamperes on a 2-wire system, and the rangeability is 400:1. All the three sensors required to cover this to 700 bar. So that is why this is one type of in the recent trends we have pressure transducers are converted to pressure transmitters. Next, how do we select the sensors? So what are the terms which are required for selection of sensors? Main thing is on the nature of measurement required, that is which type of measurement is required. Maybe it is only the nominal value or the accurate value, the range of values, all those terms. Next, on the nature of output required from the sensor. So which type of output is required, like whether the signal conditioning has to be given, or is it just a rough output, if we get that is enough. So that terms has to be considered for the nature of output. So possible sensors can be identified using the by considering some of the factors like the range, accuracy, the linearity, speed of response and the other terms. Now we will go the topics. Some of the topics what we have in this presentation is mainly the transformers, how these transformers are used as sensors for different purposes, and the last topic what we have is on MEMS, that is micro electromechanical systems. So in this rotary RVDT, it is similar to LVDT. LVDT already you have seen, where it is only linearly variable motion of the core. Now in this case we have a cam-shaped core or a rotating core. So what happens, the working principle is similar to the linear variable LVDT. So we will be getting an output in the secondary. Now if we rotate the camshaft in one direction, that is in the clockwise direction, then we will be getting a voltage which is one voltage will be greater than the other, right? So E1 will be greater than E2, and in the anti-clockwise direction if we rotate this camshaft, then the E2 will be greater than E1. So in both the cases the voltage is greater than, one voltage will be greater than the other voltage in the secondary coils, and only depending on the position of the shaft we will be getting, so here the increasing in both the direction, but there is opposition with respect to each other according to the position of the shaft. So this is the working which I have put in this slide. Just go through this slide. Next we will see on synchros and resolvers. So what is the synchros? This is very important, synchros and resolvers. It is a class of electromechanical variable coupling transformer devices primarily employed for angular data transmission and computing. So that is mainly, it is to some extent we can control the one of the transformer or one of the machine where we are sitting at one place, and the other will be somewhere else in some at some distance, and you can control by just by sitting at a far off place. This is a synchro. Okay, so a synchro looks like this. You see here the applied voltage is given to the rotor of the machine and the stator is connected. This is far off, that is why you can see this kind of diagram in the diagram, one line. So this is actually, it is not nearer, it is this transmitter is very much far off to the receiver. Okay, so whenever we give a applied voltage to both of this rotor changes due to the stator, so it is controlled only by the rotor changes. The transmitter and the receiver is controlled only by the rotor changes. So that is in the synchro type. Here you can read this, go through this. Stator wound is a three-phase distributed winding, and rotor is excited with AC single and by the transformer action between the rotor and the stator windings. Voltages are induced in the stator coil. So one is transmitter is at the nearer at the personnel where a personnel can work, and the receiver is placed at somewhere farther away, maybe 1 kilometer or 2 kilometer and so on. Okay, so magnitude of the voltages depend on the angular position of the rotor. Resolver is also similar to that, where we can get the angular position of the, you can see this diagram, see here. So the stator, and this is the rotor in 90 degree, it is placed in 90 degree with the stator. So here also we have the transmitter and the receiver. So we have the if you are controlling the transmitter by some angle, then the resolver also will be, that is the receiver will be controlled by the same angle as the transmitter. So that is the working of this resolver. You can see here in angular position being resolver, two windings are provided right angles to one another for both stator and rotor. And go through these advantages on synchros and resolver, which is very important topic. Next we will go for induction potentiometers. So in this induction potentiometers, what happens, you can see here the rotor input is given to the rotor, and when the rotor is rotated by some angle, there is a change in the output in the stator. So stator we have the that is the windings in the stator. You can see this diagram. So here it is. These are linear synchro devices, and provides accurate linear indication of shaft rotation about a reference position in the form of polarized voltage whose magnitude is proportional to the angular displacement, and whose phase relationship indicates the direction of the shaft rotation. So depending on the shaft rotation, the phase relationship is determined for the stator, and the output voltage is directly proportional to the angular position of the rotor. So that is on the induction potentiometers. Next we will go for the next topic, micro electromechanical systems, MEMS. So these are, what are these MEMS? So these are very small integrated devices which combine electrical and mechanical components like microsensors, actuators and signal transduction elements. So there are some advantages and where these applications you can see. So we will see the block diagram of this micro electromechanical system. We have in that, first the input is given to a micro sensor, then we have a signal transduction unit, and then a actuator. So actuator is a controller output where we can get. Sensor is micro sensor. Okay. So these are the three terms which are very important in these. So that is what is put here. So they are received from various input signal microsensors. It can be, some input can be mechanical, optical, electrical, chemical, or anything as such. And what is the signal transduction? How does the signal transduction? That is, it is a chip which can be fabricated by suitable micro machining techniques. And the output is, it is interfaced with the system to be controlled or monitored. Any output which we need the that is the result or the measurement, say a scale or something which is connected to this chip. So what are the manufacturing techniques of these MEMS? So mainly there are two types, that is micro machining and micro manufacturing. The micro machining, bulk micro machining, it is some etching is done, etching techniques, and it is used for the production of microsensors and accelerometers. Surface micro machining, that is thin films, and on that depositing and patterning in terms of thin films, and the low pressure chemical vapor deposition technique is used. So mainly the depositing material is polysilicon material. You can refer more on this from the Google. And one very important process which is for the manufacturing is this LIGA process. So it was developed by Karlsruhe Nuclear Research Center and used to produce micro gears and micro turbines. This technique is useful to produce very thick, produce thick microstructures having flat and parallel surfaces. Now here the process which is used or involves is, this is the process how it is involved, and it is mainly used in this micro gears and micro turbines. So we have two types in this. One, we will be only concentrating on these two types. We are not going in detail with this MEMS technology. So it is just a surface level. Two types what we will be studying is, one is MEMS accelerometer, that is vibration microsensor. So mainly this vibration microsensor, it measures the vibration. The vibration measured is in terms of frequency and amplitude. Okay. So it is a measurement designed for measurement of shock and vibration, that is frequency and amplitude is measured. The most piezoelectric material which is used in this accelerometer is, you can see it is similar to your photoelectric effect, that is, or we have what is this? Yeah, similar to the photoelectric, that is, we have platinum plates which is on either side, and then we have silicon dioxide layer, silicon wafer which is fabricated, and the PZT is sandwiched. So depending on the change in this PZT film between the platinum by the deposition technique. So we have already seen vibration sensors, how there is a change in the vibration load cells, similar to that. Okay, so when there is a load which is given here, then there is a change in the capacitance between these two plates, and that is how we can measure the vibration in terms of frequency and amplitude. Okay. So you can see here when an accelerometer is connected, and then you can also see the applications which is given in this. Go through this. Okay. So next we will be seeing on MEMS humidity sensor, where we will be measuring, the main measurement is the humidity, and the material which measures the humidity is barium titanate, which undergoes strong change in dielectric constant when exposed to humid atmosphere. So whenever there is a change in humidity, this dielectric changes take place, and which results in the change in the capacitance. So the capacitance already we know, it is C is equal to epsilon R A by D. So depending on the change in the thickness and depending on those change in the permittivity of the material, we can measure the change in capacitance and indirectly measuring the humidity. Okay, so go through these again. All these, just go through the slides and understand. If you have any doubts, please clear your doubts in the Google Classroom. So Wednesday I'll be putting a quiz, and Thursday will be the by 6 o'clock I'll be closing the timeline in Google Forms itself. So all of you write the quiz and submit it on time. That is on Wednesday I'll be putting the quiz. That's all for today.